Hello, I'm Xander. Welcome to this SQL Fundamentals Query Challenge. Now, you can follow this challenge like a tutorial as a beginner learning SQL, or you can use it to test your existing skills. If you don't have access to a computer, no problem. Try writing the query by hand. It's a great way to practice and learn SQL. You can then go ahead and compare your answer to the solution provided. Now, every challenge has an individual GitHub repo that you can access via the link connected to this tutorial. Here you can find everything you need to get started with the challenge. So let's imagine you are running an online store and you only want to display active products, items available for customers to buy. So your task is to write a query to retrieve only active products. Now, to do this, you will need to filter data. Only active products. You will need to select key details specified here in the challenge specification, the fields required to be returned from the query, and you will need to sort the results, newest first. And of course, your query should be clean and easy to read. Okay, so as this is the first challenge in this series, let me just guide you through what you will find here on the GitHub repo for each challenge. So we've already seen the challenge specifications and instructions. So that will guide you through exactly what is expected from the query that you need to create. You will also find database details to help you answer the question without necessarily having to dive into the code. So you don't necessarily have to start up the code to try and solve this query. So I try and always provide sample data and tables that you need to work with here in the sample data, as well as you will have access to the ERD diagram via this link here. So you'll be able to access the database design and fields to give you a better idea of what you're working with, and of course then help and support you create the query. So once you're ready to try out the query, if you want to utilize the code to set up the database and try your query, then just follow the next steps. So read the instructions, setup instructions. That will guide you through how to get started. And I will show you in this tutorial how to do that, but this will guide you through how to get everything set up so you can start testing your query. If you get stuck or need help, there will be a solutions file here in the repo, solutions.sql, and that will obviously provide you an overview. But of course, you just need to follow the rest of the tutorial. I'll take you through setup and solutions. Right, so this challenge is part of Scenario A series, and all challenges that have been tagged Scenario A use the same source code. So any other challenge tagged Scenario A, there's no need to set up the code again. You simply just go ahead and try the challenge. Okay, so if you need help with setup, solutions, and explanations, stick around. I'll walk you through it. Else, just get started with the challenge. Using the source code provided, it will create a Docker container with the database. And from that, you will be able to interact with the database, the Postgres database, and run your queries. Everything is automated here. So as soon as you create the container, it will be populated with tables and data. To set this up, just go ahead and select code and download the zip. Once you've downloaded the source code, extract and open up in Visual Studio Code. And then from here, you simply need to run the Docker Compose command. So do make sure that if you have any running containers, just go ahead and delete first. If you access the setup file, right click, open preview. That should then provide all the instructions. So first of all, we need to, if you haven't already got the images, let's just go ahead and Docker Compose up, build that to build the containers. So the containers are now running. So now we can access the database container. It's just a copy and paste. We're now inside the container, and now we can go ahead and connect to the database. So we're now ready to run queries in the database. So let's just try this out, /DT, and you can see all the tables that we have in our database. And now we can try and solve the challenge. Okay, so we're going to need to select data from the product table. So first of all, we need to identify what we need to return. That's going to be the ID, name, price, and is active. So we need to identify where we are going to select that from. This is going to be the products table as specified. And now we need to run a filter. So is active equals true. We actually provided the filter here. So let's just try that. Is active equals true. And let's go for order by, because we're told here that we need to order the results by created at in descending order. So created order by created at field, and then that's going to be in descending order. So what might be useful is if we added the created at field and returned that in addition to all the other fields that we've defined there. So I'll just copy and paste that in, and you can see this time inspecting the data, you can see if I keep pressing enter, it'll show me more. It looks like now, in actual fact, we have correctly identified the data that is active currently in our database, and it is indeed in order, descending order by created at. And you can see the times, how they move down to the bottom there. Now, to get a better view of our data, let's add the created at field so we can actually see the data in order and inspect it ourselves. So I'll just copy and paste that in, and this time you can see the time is descending. So we are indeed now, as expected, as required, returning the results in descending order, the newest record at the top of the data set. Assuming you did set up the code for the challenge, you can now complete any of the challenges that are tagged scenario A without having to go through the setup process once again.